Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for attending our webinar today. And we're going to be discussing how to safely celebrate this holiday season, both at work and at home. My name's Emily, and I'm joined today by Liz. And before we begin, as usual, we like to just give you a little bit of background if this is your first time joining us about Lancaster Safety Consulting. We're a nationwide OSHA compliance firm focused on helping workplaces operate safely each day. Through safety and health training, written policies and procedures, workplace analysis and assessments, inspection assistance, and so much more. We hold these free webinars on a regular basis, so make sure to sign up for our webinar alerts if you haven't signed up already. All right, Liz, let's get jolly.
Thank you so much, Emily. You can't see right now, but I'm in the spirit. I have my holiday sweater on, sequins and all. And as Emily had mentioned today, today's webinar will focus on how to enjoy a safe holiday season. And, accidents are sure to bring the holiday spirit down. So let's avoid these hazards by going over the essential holiday safety tips that we have here for you today.
So it is the most wonderful time of the year until electrical outlets are overloaded, packaging causes cuts, kitchen fires occur, someone falls off a ladder while hanging lights. Unfortunately, there are drunk drivers out on the roads, slips occur while walking on ice, or someone pulls out their back while lifting heavy boxes. There's a ton of things that can happen.
There really are, and you have to be mindful of, where you're keeping things, where you're placing them in your home. Accidents are not fun, and they really do put a damper on the holidays. And as people become excited and they're decorating, getting everything ready, it's easy to overlook safety. So today, our goal is to focus on promoting a safe holiday by stressing the importance of maintaining clear focus on safety at work and at home. So thank you for joining us here today, and we're going to celebrate safely by following these safety holiday tips.
So the first topic that we're going to talk about during today's webinar are fires. And as we all know, you should never leave a fire unattended. However, with the holiday season in full force, there are many fire hazards that you could encounter.
Emily, did you know that the #1 cause of residential fires occur in the kitchen? Well, according to the CPSC, data shows that there are about 360,000 home fires every year, leading to about 2,400 deaths and nearly 10,400 injuries each year. So 3 times the average number of cooking fires occur on Thanksgiving compared to any other day of the year. And that's no exception to this holiday.
Absolutely. And so to prevent any fires from occurring this holiday season, we recommend the following safety precautions. Keep your decorations at least 3 feet away from heat sources such as fireplaces, portable heaters, and candles. I know a lot of people like to hang their stockings above fires, but do be mindful of that. Make sure that you test your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms and practice fire drills at home. That's very important. If you have a natural tree, make sure you water it. This is really important. Dry trees pose a greater fire hazard. You'll want to inspect your fire extinguisher and know how to use it. And lastly, be sure to never burn wrapping paper in the fireplace as it can cause flash fires. And as I'm saying that, actually, that's something I didn't know. So make sure that you're not burning your wrapping paper.
That is a new one for me too. So I actually don't have a fireplace, and maybe some of you are looking for a safer option this year, or if you have young kids around and you just want to opt out. So hear me out. If you've heard of Yule log, I have played it on my TV, or you could pull it up on a laptop. I might not be the same effect, but it really is a cozy effect. So you don't have the warmth, of course, that a regular fire would give you, but because it does have the potential fire hazard, but you still have that cozy fireplace feel, and sometimes they play some holiday music along with it. So with that said, I still plan to be cooking and enjoying pine-scented candles this time of year, so don't forget to test your smoke alarms. And really, before moving on to our next topic, we would like to play you our past video clip because it's always a good time to brush up on fire safety.
If a fire started right now, do you know where the closest fire extinguisher is, and would you know how to use it? Here's a 4-letter life-saving acronym that everyone should know in case of a fire. Remember the word PASS. Pull the pin on the fire extinguisher, aim the extinguisher at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, and sweep the fire extinguisher back and forth. Once you've extinguished it, never turn your back on a fire. Most fire extinguishers will only last for about 15 seconds. That's it. So if you're unsure if you can put the fire out, evacuate the area and call for emergency help. Make sure that regular fire extinguisher inspections are being conducted properly. There are 3 things to look for when inspecting a fire extinguisher. First, is the extinguisher charged? The needle should be in the green area if it is equipped with a gauge. Second, make sure it's mounted correctly. It shouldn't be placed on the floor, used to keep a door open, or be located away from its designated area, which is under the sign that reads "Fire Extinguisher Here." Lastly, make sure there is a clear path to the extinguisher and that nothing is obstructing access because you don't want to waste time in an emergency. A fire extinguisher should not be used as a hook for coats or tools, be blocked by anything like boxes, machines, or furniture, and it shouldn't be mounted in a cage with a lock on it. Make sure to direct any fire safety questions to your Lancaster safety consultant.
All right, so that was a good refresher for how to use a fire extinguisher. And the next hazard that we want to talk about is falls. Now, on average, there are about 160 decorating related injuries each day during the holiday season, with almost half of the incidents involving falls. According to the National Electronic Injury Surveillance System, All Injury Program, for a period of 3 holiday seasons, it was found that nearly 17,465 people were treated for decorating related falls. Now, 43% of these injuries occurred because of ladder falls, with men nearly 40% more likely to be injured than women. So please remember these tips this year to help reduce the chances of a fall accident. First, use step stools instead of climbing on furniture when hanging decorations. Wrapping paper and toys scattered across the floor, icy walkways, ladders, and decorative lighting cords are all holiday slip, trip, and fall hazards. Slipping and tripping over ornaments and decorations is also common during the festive season, which is why people need to be extra cautious during these times. Make sure you're watching out for floor decorations and ornaments when walking on pathways, sidewalks, and lawns. Look out for clothes and toys carelessly strewn on store floors during peak shopping periods. When using a ladder to hang up festive decorations and ornaments, make sure someone's available to help support the ladder when climbing. And lastly, wear shoes with strong grips to reduce the risk of slip and fall accidents. Avoid wearing pencil-thin heels or flip-flops that can easily trip you while you're walking.
These are some really great tips because, you know, normally you'd think, yeah, of course I'm going to do these things, but it seriously gets busy this time of year and I just forget sometimes. So we have our next slide here, and I don't know about you, Emily, but I still have a shopping list to complete. I thought I
Me
was
too.
doing so well. I know. I'm like, I've been wrapping things as I get them. And still, I looked at the calendar and here we are. So I'll
Yep, 10
definitely
days
be,
left.
yeah, I'll be hitting up the mall this weekend. And as a shopper this time of year, I am more mindful of the crowds and I really do my best to stay organized and aware of my surroundings. Um, just keeping my wallet in a good place, just all of that stuff. So there are some things for property or business owners to be aware of as well, that are potential slip and fall hazards. So especially as the temperatures drop and people begin to track in the snow, you really want to keep an eye on the puddles accumulating on the floor. So it's really important to keep up with that. And as we also know, it's also the responsibility of employers to ensure that all workers are trained to recognize and prevent job hazards and implement safe work practices. And that's what we do here at LSCI, whether it's retail or moving parcels from the warehouse to your home. We make sure that you and your team are confident and safe in your work practices. So you may also have some seasonal or temporary hires, and that initial training is crucial. Some training this holiday season to consider, which we do have available in person and online, are warehouse safety, driving safety, workplace violence, workplace stress, cold stress, a short service employee, and slips, trips, and falls.
All right, let's take a quick break for our first Insta Safety quiz. If you've joined our webinar before, you know you can put your answers below in the chat box, but feel free to put your answer in there. The question is, each day during the holiday season, falls account for almost blank of the injuries or incidents. So is it A, half, B, a fourth, C, a third, or D, an eighth? So we'll give you a second here to put in your answer. And our answer is
We got a half. So, I mean, this is such a prevalent hazard, not just during the holidays, but it's always in the top 10. What I think the last 12 years,
yep.
falls have been rated as, one of the most hazardous. So, be careful out there. Be mindful.
All right, so moving on to electrical hazards. These can also be a huge danger during the holiday season. I know if you've ever seen the movie The Christmas Story, I remember the dad, he had like 37 things plugged into one outlet. And
Oh
when he plugged that
gosh.
last thing in, it made everything spark and the power go out. So don't be that person. Did you know that local fire departments actually respond to an average of 770 fires that are caused by Christmas lights every year? So to avoid electrical hazards, just follow these simple steps. First, don't run cords under rugs or furniture, and don't overload electrical outlets, as we said. Use a heavy duty outdoor extension cord for any decorating outside of the home. Now, if you're using an extension cord or adapter that adds receptacles, consider having a qualified electrician add more outlets to your home. Lastly, use arc fault circuit interrupter breakers or outlets. Many electrical fires that occur every year could be prevented by these AFCIs.
Those are some really great things to keep in mind. And another thing to consider would be using timers to turn off your electrical power decorations. You don't want them getting too hot, so it's also important to inspect your extension cords for pinching, wear, and frays. You'll also want to be sure to discard any worn cords and decorations. No matter how great of a deal you got on them, everything has to go sometime.
Yes. All right, so moving on here, we want to talk about drinking responsibly. And for most people, there's nothing wrong with enjoying alcohol around the holidays as long as it's done safely. Even in drinking at home can cause accidents. So let's just talk about a few of these safety tips. So you guessed it, our number one tip obviously is never drink and drive, never. We all know this one, but how many people have you heard say, well, I didn't think I drank that much, or I'm not even buzzed, but then they get pulled over and a breathalyzer says otherwise. So wherever you're going to be drinking, just plan for a designated driver. Look out for others and make sure they're not drinking and driving either. You can be a true holiday hero and offer them a ride or pay for a cab. They'll owe you one. Provide beverage options other than alcohol and food that will help soak up some alcohol. Encourage everyone to drink water in between drinks. Also, cooking while intoxicated is a really bad mixture. Drink in moderation until after the food is cooked.
And then we should talk about work parties. I mean, everyone's having a good time. Holiday parties are a great opportunity for your company to come together and celebrate accomplishments. But worrying about people drinking and driving can be stressful, and for the people planning the party. So here's a few ideas our team has come up with to help alleviate these concerns. So a few days before your event, send out an email or post to remind everyone to be on their best behavior and act professionally. This will help set the tone for the party so everyone knows it's not okay to get out of control. And you can save that for your family gatherings. Just kidding. As silly as this may sound, assign a drinking babysitter or even a group of people. This way people know who to turn to if they see someone getting rowdy. And if you have bartenders, they should refuse to serve inebriated guests, but it is still recommended that your team needs to also keep an eye out for employees who've been overserved. Yeah, we don't want that to happen to anyone. So how can you keep track of who has been drinking? You can try stamping everyone's hand that is drinking and make sure they leave only with a designated driver, or this year we're opting to hand out gift certificates to help pay for a ride or a share service.
Absolutely, those are great ideas. All right, so let's talk about kids and pets. They can be what make the holiday season so special for so many. I have two little boys at home. I'm so excited for them to see what's under the Christmas tree this year. But it is important to make sure that they are kept safe as well. Keep your holiday plants out of reach of pets and small children. If they're consuming pine needles, poinsettias, holly berries, or mistletoe, this can make pets really sick, and kids obviously too as well.
Those really are beautiful decorations, and a safety option would be to choose a synthetic version just to keep the pets and kids safe. So whenever you are opening or wrapping packages, there are potential hazards there as well. Be sure to cut away from your body when you're opening toys and other packages. Some of those can be really difficult to open, and it is tempting to just bust in there, but it's
Yeah.
important to remember that a tip. So you want to be aware of other people in your vicinity as well, and make sure that your first aid kits are fully stocked with supplies, especially whenever you have friends and family over and it's a full house. Things can happen.
Right, absolutely. And all of these gifts and toys, they should inspire joy, not cause injuries, right? Thousands
Mhm.
of children are seriously injured in toy-related incidents every year. So here are some tips to use to avoid safety hazards when dealing with gifts. Toys are age rated for safety, not for children's intellect and physical ability. So be sure to choose toys in the correct age range. You'll want to choose toys for children under 3 that do not have small parts, which could be choking hazards. For children under 10, avoid toys that must be plugged in into an electrical outlet. Be cautious about toys that have buttons, batteries, or magnets, which can be harmful or fatal if swallowed. Lastly, when giving scooters and other riding type of toys, give the gift of appropriate safety gear too. So choose a fun helmet with maybe a character they like or some gloves, things to get them excited to wear them, but also for them, to be safe as well.
I thought that was a really cool tip because, if you get a toy that requires batteries, it's awesome to receive the batteries for that toy as well. So,
Right, right.
put that safety element in there.
All right. So moving on here. So, we've talked about falls and electrical hazards as well. But, the holiday season, it's a great opportunity to reflect on family and friends, but it's also a time to appreciate the gift of health. So, and I think we don't think about that often enough. But you can think about your health and wellness by preparing cold weather supplies, including people in your holiday celebrations that might experience loneliness or sadness around the holidays. Do you have a neighbor that maybe lost their spouse recently or are just alone? Invite them over, have them over for dinner. You can plan a designated driver. We talked about how important this is. For work functions, you can stamp anyone's hand that's drinking and make sure they leave only with a designated driver. Or you can hand out those gift certificates that we talked about, to pay for an Uber or a Lyft. Do not advertise online if you'll be away for the holidays. This is really important. And lastly, don't spread germs. Wash your hands, especially before cooking, disinfect surfaces, and cover your mouth when coughing or sneezing.
Absolutely, always an important one.
Right. I think those are just, things that we don't always think about. I think we can take those for granted easily, so it's important to think about those.
For sure.
And next, so, remember road safety if you're visiting another state or family members during the holidays. Get your vehicle ready for winter weather. Keep an emergency preparedness kit inside. Watch for weather conditions. Clear your headlights of snow and allow yourself ample time to get to your destination. One thing recently, my mom actually reminded me, she said, do you have coats in the car in case you get stuck? Or do you have boots in the car if you have to get out, but you're not wearing the right shoes? Things like that. So I made sure each of us has an extra coat. I have some blankets for my kids and then a pair of boots if we need to. So again, it's things we don't think about all the time, but they're really important. Just some more additional safety tips for holiday travel. You want to make sure you avoid aggressive and angry driving. I know sometimes I think everybody thinks they're better at driving in the snow than anybody else, but just, take your time. Be patient. It might be a new driver in the car that hasn't experienced snow, or maybe it's somebody, who from Florida came to PA and they're not used to these weather conditions. There's a lot to think about there. So just be patient. And again, along with that, you want to adjust your following distance and speed in the snow or icy conditions. A little eggnog might be delicious during the holidays, right? But be sure to designate a sober driver or arrange for a rideshare service like Uber or Lyft ahead of time if you plan to drink. During the winter months, an earlier sunset means you've got less daylight to work with, so ideally plan your trip to avoid driving at night. Cold weather takes its toll on car batteries, so double check to make sure that you've got jumper cables in your trunk, and you never know when an easy jump start could save you time and hassle, or when you could use them to help someone else. And lastly, a winter storm can leave you spending your holiday stuck in a drift or stranded in a blizzard, particularly if you're traveling on unfamiliar roads. So like we said, stock your vehicle with items that might be helpful in case of the problem, like, thick blankets, extra food and water, coats and jackets, and also a flashlight.
You know, my husband just had to break into his emergency bag the other day because the weather dropped and he wasn't dressed accordingly.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, sometimes, especially, in PA, you can start the morning really cold and then it gets really warm, or vice versa. It can be warm and then drop really quickly. So that's a good point.
All right, Emily, it's time for our final safety quiz. So we have here our final safety quiz. What should you include in an emergency preparedness kit when traveling this holiday season? Give you a second to think about those options.
We were just talking about this. So if you said all of the above, you were right. All right, so let's play a little game here of what's wrong with this picture. It should be pretty obvious. I hope that it is.
Yeah, there are so many cords plugged into that little outlet, and it's so messy. It's a disaster. Please don't do this. There's some serious potential for a fire or electrical issue.
Right, and even if this is just left out, strewn about on the floor, it's going to be very easy to trip over as well.
Yeah, like I don't even want to clean that up. I just say, you
Right.
know what? We're gonna get some new lights. All right, how about this one?
This one might be a little tricky. It might not be super obvious. All right, so this looks to be what used to be a beautiful tree, but it's pretty dried out now. I think it was not being watered, and this is a huge fire hazard. All right, so what about this one?
All right, so I know this one. So we enforce safe lifting practices here at Lancaster Safety, and unfortunately, this person is just taking on way too much. They can't see where they're going. That's a high step. I'm not sure. Maybe they thought there was a step there. I mean, it just put a couple of those gifts down and come back for the other ones, or have someone to help you.
All right, last one here. What is wrong with this picture?
All right, so this was a crazy neighborhood decoration. I think they did a really good job. That person is quite realistic looking, but as we know, if you don't properly use ladders, this could be a very real thing, especially if you're not adhering to the 4-in-1 rule and keeping all of those things in mind. So these stuck, there's no way to get down, and it's always best to have somebody out there with you whenever you are using a ladder. So something like this doesn't happen. All right, so we're going to wrap up our presentation here, and we have a holiday safety poster available on our client portal, which is a great summary of what we just went over today. Remember, these aren't likely revelations, though I did learn something about burning the wrapping paper. But it is a good safety refresher, especially among the hustle and bustle the holidays usually bring. It's got some Alaska Aurora Borealis vibe, so even if you're not experiencing a winter wonderland where you are, it'll give that cozy winter feel in your workplace, or you can hang it up in your home if you like to. So make sure to download and print this out.
All right, so thank you everybody for spending the time on this topic today. It is really important. And, remember that while the excitement of the holidays can become overwhelming, don't forget the importance of celebrating safely both at work and at home. So if you have any questions, missed a link to something that you're interested in, or want to set up a free phone consultation, give us a call. Our number is 888-403-6026, or you can always email us at safetyquestions@lancastersafety.com.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And from all of us at LSCI, we wish you all a very happy, healthy, and of course, safe holiday season.